Okay, hello again students. This is another video from Mr. D's math class. This one's on 4.5, our last section on linear relations unit, using graphs to estimate values. So basically, now that you have graphs, you know what they look like. Now you can actually use graphs as tools to be able to estimate values by two ways. There's one is interpolation, and I'll explain what that is. But basically, what it is being able to estimate values within a given set of data inside a graph, and extrapolation is the other one, which is estimating values outside of a graph that you are given. Okay, and you can see this 4.5, so I'm going to make another video called part 2 of this. Okay, but part 1 is coming up right now. So, for example, here's a graph of a car traveling, and notice I've already made marks on this because I recorded this video earlier, but it didn't have sound, so I have to do it again. Wish me luck on take 2. So this is a graph of a car traveling, and so the x-axis is the time, so time it takes to travel, and the distance is the vertical axis. This is the distance it's traveling as it's driving. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is give you an example with using this graph. Estimate values using interpolation. So interpolation basically is to estimate values within a given set of data or in between 2 points, let's say in a graph. Okay, so here's our graph. Let's say this is our original set, okay, from here to here. Okay, so notice that in 1 hour it travels 100 kilometers, 2 hours it travels 200 kilometers, 3 hours 300 kilometers, 4 hours 400 kilometers, etc. Now I'm going to ask this question, okay, how far did the car travel in 1.5 hours? Well, I kind of did this already earlier here. So you look for 1.5 hours on the time axis. So there's 1 hour, there's 2 hours, so in between 1 and 2, that's 1.5 hours. And use that to move up into the graph until you hit the graph itself, and then you turn left and find out what the distance is that it traveled in that 1.5 hours. So in 1.5 hours, it looks like it traveled, well, 150, because between 100 and 200 is 150, is the way I made the graph. Okay, so our answer for that would be, in 1.5 hours it traveled 150 kilometers. Okay, so that's what it equals to, 150 kilometers. Okay, second question I might be able to ask is, well, how much time did the car take to travel 325 kilometers? So this time we got to look for 325 kilometers on the vertical axis first, and here it is. This is approximately about 325 kilometers, because this is measured with between 300 and 400. Okay, it's 350, so between 350 and 300, that would be 325, would be right about here. So you move towards the graph, and when you hit the graph, you move down, and you approximately, I would say, 3.25 hours, I would say. Okay, so that's what our answer would be, and it makes sense because the way the graph is made, it's 1 hour for every 100 kilometers, so 325 kilometers would probably be 3.25 hours. Now, if you want to convert this quarter to minutes, then it would actually be equal to 3 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, so there, because 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour, right? Okay, so that's how you use interpolation, because it is within our given set of data, okay, from here to here. But what if you wanted to, estimate a value that's beyond this graph? Let's say you want to ask, well, for instance, how far did the car travel in, let's say, 8 hours, which is, we don't have here. Well, you're just going to have to estimate it. And there's techniques you can use, and I'll show you. And that's called extrapolation. So that's what we're going to do next, okay? Extrapolation is estimating values outside or beyond our given set of data. That's what that's about, okay? Okay, so for instance, if I wanted to ask, how far did the car travel in 10 hours? Okay, well, I don't have 10 hours graphed in this in this data. 10 hours would be right about here, but if we can estimate how far it traveled in 5 hours, which is actually 500 kilometers. Well, then we can just multiply each of those values by 2 and we'll get how far it traveled in 10 hours. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so 5 hours, how far did it travel? It traveled 500 kilometers. Okay, so therefore in 10 hours, in other words, you're multiplying this by 2, in 10 hours, how far did it travel? Well, you simply multiply this one also by 2, then it'll be 1,000 kilometers. Make sense? Hope so. But the way the graph is made, and for every hour it's 100 kilometers, so 10 hours therefore will be 1,000 kilometers. Okay? Next question you could ask: how long, or in other words, how much time did it take the car to travel 1,150 kilometers? Well, with that you can use some previous knowledge, like this one over here. You know that if it traveled 1,000 kilometers, you know that is 10 hours. And if it's traveling at 100 kilometers an hour, well, this 150 plus 150 kilometers therefore is going to be an hour and a half, 1.5 hours, right? So altogether, therefore, when you add this up, then it took 11 and a half hours to travel 1,150 kilometers. Okay, and therefore, if you want to convert this to this 0.5 hours into minutes, therefore it'll be 11 hours and 30 minutes, because 30 minutes is half an hour. Okay, so that is an example of interpolation and extrapolation using this simple graph. And again, like estimates are estimates, as long as you're not way off in your estimate. If you're within 10 values of your estimates, then it should be alright, as long as you're not way off in your estimates. Okay, so this is part 1 of 4.5, using graphs to estimate values, and I hope it does help with the assignment, and I wish you luck, and I'll see you later.